Hello and welcome to Walpole United WFC. Good evening and welcome to Walpole United WFC. Unfortunately, yes, it is another pre-record, but it couldn't be helped this week. Couldn't be helped. But, you know, it's Easter weekend and family obviously does take priority over, especially family you haven't seen in ages because of the pandemic and because of COVID and what have you. So, yeah. But anyway, it should be a decent show anyway. Something we've not really done I think we've not even touched upon it at all. We might have mentioned it a couple of times, maybe a couple of players. So it's a bit of a refreshing show just to do something on the dev side, in the 21s, whatever you like to call them, development squad, however you want to pronounce it. But before we get stuck into all that, Matt, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah. Well, it was nice, isn't it? Sun's one, got my shots back out, considering I did it about 2-3 weeks ago. Do you remember that nice weekend? And then on the Tuesday, it was like wazzing it down and snowing. So I know you live in your shorts.
I know I live in my shorts, yeah.
For me, this is quite, I don't know, it's good. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't live in shorts, but I just remember that weekend where it was boiling like 16, 17, 18. Both days. Monday it chucked it down. I was coaching Tuesday and it was snowing and I think it was -1. So it was a bizarre turn of events, typical Manchester weather. But weather being nice always brings out the best in people, done it nice and happy, get the drinks going, like you said, Easter weekend as well, catch up with family and friends and stuff. So yeah, got a good weekend in store, pal. So all excited. How are you?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. Just looking forward to a trip to Old Trafford, and hopefully we'll get the 3 points.
Say this every week.
Yeah, I know. And then fingers crossed. Hopefully, I can make it tomorrow to the game at Walton Hall Park, which we'll get into obviously in a few minutes. But hopefully, I can make that because I couldn't. They played on Wednesday night as well, just gone. I was meant to go, but I couldn't unfortunately make it. I had some stuff on to sort out. But, so hopefully a good weekend in store. Like you said, nice weather. Nice beer garden weather, really, isn't it? It's about time we had it. And, like you said, we had that when the nice weather when the women's team played at Old Trafford. And then, as you said, a couple of days later, was it down with snow? Unbelievable.
Unreal scenes.
Unreal. Anyway, the development squad, the under-21s, the devs, whatever you want to call it. I know we've not seen too much of them this season, Matt. I mean, for me, unfortunately, because I watch so many United teams at so many age groups and across so many different sort of the academies and the first team, the women's team. I can't afford to do them all. I'd love to do them all, but I can't. So I'm not really seeing them this season. I don't know if you've managed to see any of the players this season.
Seen a little bit, not as much as I did in the first season in the WSL. So not as much as season 2. I did actually see them in season 1, actually, under a good friend of ours, Tom Fitton. But yeah, I think like similar to you, like this season, just other things that have just either taken place, whether it's been like coaching or stuff on at work, whatever. So, but yeah, I think to start with just the season in general, I think is the best bet. I think, obviously we've had quite a lot of last season's squad still staying with us, which for anybody that knows development football is quite rare. Like you look down the road at Man City and they have a big clear out of players usually. We've kept the likes of Rebecca May, Chloe Williams, Poppy Lawson. And I think what's great is these players at the time when they sort of broke through and, got involved with the development squad from the RTC. Obviously, Chloe Williams, we did sign from Wolves. But the ones that have stayed, it's been great because they've been sort of, because they were only young, that's why they have stayed. Obviously, barring Chloe, I think she's 21, 22 maybe. we've looked at the majority, sort of 16, 17, 18 years old, and Maria Edwards is another one, again, obviously got her loan to Blackburn. And then this year should have had a loan and didn't, and has been absolutely smashing it. So I think the signs were there last year. And I think keeping that squad together this year has enabled us to build and add in little bits of quality. We've got a couple in from Liverpool as well. And I think just having that settled squad from last year has done us wonders this year. We're going to get into it properly, but it's enabled us to pretty much win the league. We've won the cup as well. There's been quite a few step up and train with the first team. There's been likes of Niamh Murphy on the bench. So yeah, it's been looking really good so far.
Do you think also, when you talk about players that have stayed, obviously, because some of them are, as you said, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. Do you think also we also keep hold of the players because we have got, is it tier 1 statuses for the WSL Academy, whatever, I can't remember what it's called, the academy, the women's sort of academy side of things. But, we're the best in the country. No other one's got this, I don't think there's any other team that's got this sort of tier 1 sort of elite status of in academy football in the women's game. So do you think that also helps to keep these players around, knowing that and knowing also previously over the many, many years of the players that we have produced, and unfortunately, if I had to move on because we didn't have a senior side at that point, do you think that's another reason why they seem to tend to stick around, like Man City or Liverpool or whatever else it is, where they do tend to move around quite a bit?
Yeah, so I think, I'd agree. I think the tier 1 academy status does wonders. It's like you say, it's just because just that extra contact time. So anybody that knows sort of like how it works, it's like a 3-tier system. So obviously, there's a tier 1 being the best. The more contact time you have, and that's on the pitch in terms of like training things, the better it is. So obviously, as you can imagine, tier 1, best of the bunch. So you've got so many contact hours. You've got your option to do a qualification. So I don't know if anybody knows, but the club is partnered with Wigan and Lee College. So the college next to the sports village, you'll see a lot of our players there, and they are obviously undertaking a qualification as well. So it's kind of like specially scheduled around training, which I think is brilliant because I think back to when Tuni was that age and she went through about 3 or 4 colleges because it was so unbalanced with obviously a training, obviously with Man United at the time, it was full time. This is season 1, by the way, for anyone wondering. So I think things like that, where you balance it out, makes a massive difference. And just in general, like advanced coaching, proper facilities. You've pretty much got there everything that you would want as a player that's looking to come through. And I think there's something. I think it was something like 15 hours a week contact time that you were given as a development player. Like I say, obviously you've got to fit your A-level or BTEC qualification around that, but it sets you on the right pathway. And I know not every club has 15 hours contact time a week. So yeah, if I'm a young player, I definitely want to stay at a club that's sort of tier 1.
Did you think also because Manchester United have famed as a football club that it's always given academy players a chance? When you look back to it, you go your way back in history, especially under Sir Matt Busby and Jimmy Murphy. And then when they built this young team up, they built the Busby Babes up and everything. And the fact that Manchester United have this great record in the men's side of things, of an academy player in every single matchday squad. And that record keeps rumbling on, and no team can even in the whole of Europe can even match it. I don't think no team in the world can match it. Do you think that also helps as well? That aura around that Manchester United are always a team that gives young players a chance.
I'd say so, yeah. I think if you're looking at it, so if I use somebody like Arsenal as an example, there's a lot of development players that leave Arsenal. And a most recent big name that I can think of is Lauren James. Obviously left Arsenal, joined us now at Chelsea. I just think if you're a development player the one thing that you don't want to do, which by all means is a difficult feat, is to step up and struggle, which is usually how it goes. So obviously we talk about it a lot. The gap between first team football and development football is huge. So I think a lot of players look at that and they look at what the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea do, and you think how many youngsters come through and they don't stand a chance. Now, we're quite good with ours because they're sort of eased in. You get little bits, you get involved in the squad, things like that. You then have the option of the dual loans or a full loan, depending. Obviously, we've given Emily Ramsey a full loan. You know, Chloe Williams has had a dual loan with Blackburn. Tara Bourne's been at Sheffield and Blackburn. You look at that and you look at sort of, I mean, listen, Chelsea have loaned out quite a few this season, but Arsenal haven't loaned out too many. You look at that from a youngster's point of view, you think, well, what's my next options when I go back? You're either going to be thrown back in the development squad, or you're probably likely going to end up lower WSL or possible championship, maybe third tier, depending. So if I'm a player assessing my options, the likes of the Arsenals and Chelseas, you want to look at the history, like you say, who they bring through. Birmingham City is a fantastic example. They've used, I don't know how many it was, but they've used the most development squad players in their first team this year. That was put out there the other day. Which, you know, if you're in Birmingham City's academy, that's fantastic. Now, obviously, granted, they're going to go down, but if you're a player, you've now got a chance to showcase yourself in the championship, massively improving league, you know, really competitive compared to when we were last in it. You know, the signs are looking good. So I do feel like, you know, you look at a club as big as Man United and you think, well, actually, they do give youngsters a chance. You know, they have played. You were there in Norway with me. Charlotte Newsham got minutes. Maria Edwards got minutes. You know, there was young travelling players that were not only training, but given minutes. So it just goes to show, you know, that the opportunities are there if you put in the work. You know, you take on board the advice given to your coaches. You maybe look to utilise the loan system and maybe go out 6-12 months, things like that, and then come back and then see where it takes you. But yeah, if I was a young player, you'd be absolutely buzzing.
Absolutely. And, you know, this deaf side, I've won a couple of things as well. It's not as though this deaf side is not, you know, we're not successful. We're not doing anything with these deaf players. You know, we are winning cups. We are getting to cup finals. So our very first season that I'm not sure if that was a WSL Academy Cup as well, or whatever cup it was that we were playing in. They ended up going into the final against Arsenal, you know. And obviously this season won the WSL Academy Cup. You know, my son got to hold it at Old Trafford. We had a picture with him, you know, which was fantastic. You know, so learning to win trophies at an early age as well can only develop these players even further. You know, being successful, you know, get to cup finals, you know, winning cup finals, winning them quite comfortably as well. Listen, we're going to get into it now. Obviously, you know. The second at the minute to Aston Villa in the north of the WSL Academy league. Obviously, playing Everton tomorrow at Walton Park. We're going level points at Aston Villa, but we've got a far superior goal difference, which will mean that United win the league. So the Northern League. You know, do you think it's important for academy players to develop the sort of learn the winning mentality early on in their careers, or do you think it's all about just developing and trying to become as best player as you can be and give yourself the best chance possible to go on to the first team?
Yeah, difficult one, because with my coaching head, I would say just develop, but with a Man United fan head, you want to win. So I think for me, I'll give you both sides, because I think if we go from a fan's point of view, fans love seeing, obviously, you know, development squad do well, hearing about the latest players, things like that. But I want to go back to sort of Emma Sanders' article on the BBC, and something that Charlotte Healy said to her, you know, she wants the women's academy to emulate the sort of the success and the pressure that's on the men's side. So she said, obviously, they want different experiences. They want to develop them. You know, they want to obviously be winning games. But she said what she wants is when they go and step up into a first team environment, they know how to win games and they know how to play in big games. They know how to play in finals, play under pressure and things like that. And what they've actually done this year is you'll notice a lot of development games have been put in an evening. And she's done that because that's allowed crowds to turn up. That's allowed it to be an atmosphere. That gets players used to playing in front of fans. Because let's not forget, if you're going to a Devs game now, let's pick, I don't know, let's say Aston Villa, while she mentioned them. Aston Villa versus Everton. There's not going to be more than 200 fans. Friends and family is probably the majority of the crowd. Parents may be there for those that don't drive, but the crowds aren't big. So doing something like that and playing in front of a few hundred, the St. George's Park Cup final was played in front of a lot of fans, big atmosphere. Players get used to it. That's how you develop. So I think for me, that's a good way, getting them used to a bit of both. Like I said, yes, you want to develop, but at the end of the day, you play football to win. So it's a good balance that I think we've got there. And, Charlotte's obviously been very successful since she came in. And we've produced plenty of talented young players. And listen, the ones that have left have not necessarily fallen away. They've been able to make successful careers elsewhere. So I think it's one of them. Like I say, the development is great and the winning is great. But because we've got that nice balance of sort of winning, learning, educating, things like that, it all blends into one for me. And I think that's what's great, and that's what's worked so well, because we have got that balance, and because these players are being gradually eased into little aspects, like I say, like the winning, like the crowds, like the pressured environments. It slowly builds and adds to your education of a player. So yeah, so far so good.
I'm going to get on to Charlotte in a minute, but I just wanted to come back to the crowd thing, like you said there. As we know, in the men's game, the under 21s, it's got obviously been boosted up to the under 23s now. But they play in front of regular crowds. It's always free to go and watch them. But it's always advertised as well. The under 23s, they're playing at, for example, Leeds Sports Village. The last 3 games they played at Old Trafford. The last 2 games, they've got one coming up against Arsenal towards the end of the month again. But they're always constantly advertised. Do you think? Do you think we need to start advertising a little bit more for the under 21s for the devs, for the development squad? Do we need to start advertising that, or see that on either Twitter or social media or Manchester United's website? Just say it's at Ultram FC. That's where they usually play. It's free of charge. If you get down, support the girls. Or do you think it's right that it's really kept a bit hush-hush and those who know, and then, to maybe keep undesirables out, I think I'd say. Because sometimes you do get the odd undesirable. You don't want them to start,
I think, it's a difficult one. I'm in two minds. I think I would open it up, but I would limit the numbers. And I know that might sound bizarre because you want to support them, but I think just for that reason, I think what we've got to be careful is the fact that the men's, it's very rare in the under 23s that you'll get a 16-year-old playing, because the men's have the sort of 16s, 18s, 23s, whereas the women's, it's not. It's RTC up till 16, then it's development. So I think from a sort of safety or safeguarding point of view, we've got to be careful that, like you say, the wrong people aren't in there. And I don't mean that badly, but if you look at some games, even for the first teams, there is a few odd characters knocking about that are probably there for the wrong reasons, shall we say. So on that respect, yes, I would be limiting it. You don't want to completely close it off, but I understand why they do. But I think, there's no harm in letting a few hundred in, for me, 200-300, and just say, right, here's the tickets, they're free. Apply here, or put your name down like you do for the men's. You just fill out the form, and then there you go. And obviously, then you can link that back as well, can't you? Link the ticket to the name, so if there is anything a little bit untoward, then you don't come again. But I do think that will help. I do think that growing development football and getting fans in there, fans want to see the next best thing at their club. It shouldn't be constant hush-hush. And like I say, I fully understand why it is, because players don't want the pressure. Some people have got, really, really talented players that they won't want bigger clubs stealing from, which is fair enough. So again, they kind of protect those players and keep it under wraps. But I do think for the growth, it would be nice to get it sort of like, say, as popular as the men's. You get the hardcore fans wanting to go and watch and things like that. So maybe it's something to look at next year. But I think that's got to come naturally. It shouldn't be forced. And then also for me, another thing is obviously, like I said before, the link between the devs and the first team. That's got to be something that's looked at as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Another way you could do it, actually, I've just been thinking to myself there, you've been talking about it, is obviously people can go and watch the academy sides, but at the minute they can't because of the COVID situation, and obviously still all the zones, and so fans are locked out of Carrington. But usually, if you go and watch from under 18s downwards, I think you can watch up to under 16s. I think you've got to have a pass to get through for Carrington, so that could be another thing that the club could look at doing. Maybe if it's limited number of fans, but you have to apply for a season pass or something, and that pass is accredited to you, and then obviously if you misbehave, that pass gets revoked, you can't get in. So I mean, that's another way of looking at it. I think possibly, but as I said, though, I totally understand where people are coming from as well, in the safeguarding things as well, because as you said, there is no under 16s, under 18s, under 19s, under 21s, under 23s. It's just from, like you said, it's just a big jump then. So yeah, absolutely. And moving on to Charlotte Healy, though. Obviously, we mentioned either last week's show or the show before. I think it was the show before, actually. It was about Charlotte Healy and working with Matt Skinner in the first team as well. She's a good coach with a good reputation, But do you think now that because she's now working quite closely with Matt Skinner, not to say that she wasn't with Casey, by the way, but definitely a lot more now with Matt Skinner, a lot more with the first team as well. Do you think that's also maybe enhanced her as a coach as well? It's maybe giving her a little bit of a boost, and she's probably picking up things that she probably wouldn't have seen before, maybe, sort of in the background with Casey, but now she's there fully with Mark. She can maybe bounce ideas off Mark and maybe pick a few off Mark. Do you think that sort of maybe developed her a little bit as well?
100%, and I'm going to have my mate Martin in there as well.
Martin, we can't forget Martin.
I'll start with Charlotte. I think, listen, this team started properly in 2019, 19-20 season, which was our first in the WSL. Now, obviously, bearing in mind we've had COVID, which has disrupted a lot of the dev season and development. In 3 years, we've got the cup title, and we're on the verge of winning the league in only our third season. A double in your third season. I think that's pretty special. So, I think props to Charlotte for that. I think working with Mark closely, which is something that didn't always happen under Casey, will, like you said, do her development herself wonders. Working with Martin as well, who again is a very, very good coach, just bouncing and passing ideas. Again, it's more integrated, isn't it? Which is what you need. You should. I remember Mark at the start of the season saying, he went and watched stuff that Soulshark did with the, the men's side. And I think that's what you need, going around and picking up ideas off different coaches, especially more experienced coaches, is the way forward. So I think, 100% it's done as a benefit. You'll see her on first team match days. If the devs have no game, she'll be at Lee, things like that. So I do think that's important. And obviously Martin, when he came into our club, did start as assistant manager of the development squad. So again, she'll have learned a lot from there, and what a masterstroke that was. One, bringing him in, and two, putting him there. But I do genuinely believe that she's 100% probably improved as a coach for obviously working with Mark and Martin and just being around that environment. It's great that you've got that link, because not all clubs will turn to that development manager and take a huge interest in that squad. There's clubs that, dare I say it, don't care. And there's clubs that care a lot. And we're lucky that we've got a club that cares a lot.
Just quickly sidetracking there, because you just said something about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer there, and obviously working quite closely with with the likes of Mark and probably with the likes of Charlotte as well. I'm pretty damn well sure, because obviously Kana, his daughter, is in the development squad there. Did you think? Did you fear when Manchester United are going through a continuous cycle of different male managers, different for the men's side, different managers all the time? Do you think it could harm the women's team in a way? With Soulshark had that close bond, he sort of knitted everything back together. Whereas obviously the manager before him, Jose, was the one that tore everything apart. Wasn't interested in the academy. He wouldn't have been interested in the women's side. I can guarantee. But someone like Soulshark comes in, he's absolutely interested in stuff. He's been, even when he's a Manchester United manager, he was there. Yes, fair play. His daughter was playing for the development side, hence why he was there. But just having Manchester United's manager there in the stands, on the sidelines, what a big boost that is as well. Having your first team manager there, from the men's side, doesn't get any better than that. Do you think, like, if Erik ten Hag comes in, obviously, as the new boss for the men's side, do you think it's a key? It's key for him to sort of, have that entrusted relationship with Matt Skinner, with Charlotte Healy, just to bounce ideas off him, just to see, especially when it comes to training methods as well, because he's going to come in with a whole different set of skills. He's worked under Pep Guardiola. He's worked with Steve McLaren. He's one of the best coaches in Europe. He is the next one that's in demand. So if he does become Manchester United manager, do you think it's key that he's got to keep them channels open with the women's side?
I do 100%. I think obviously you talked about Soulshark, and I think, like you said, he probably paid a lot more interest than anyone else would because his daughter was in the side and he was a regular supporter of the. Well, he still is, to be fair. He's still down.
Yeah, he's still there.
But in terms of like the first team, he paid a regular interest, like you said, or like I said before, bounced ideas with Mark. And I think that is important. Whether that continues, I don't know. You'd like to think so. Because I think for me, and again, this is my coaching head on, as a coach, you're always learning. Doesn't matter what qualification you are, how long you've been in the game, you're always learning. You can always borrow and share ideas from anyone. So you would like to think that obviously, Mark could still go over, and let's assume that, Ten Hag does come in, go over and maybe when there's time, have a meeting, discuss ideas, say, look, this is what we have in our women's team. And, we're supposed to be promoting this all red, all equal, like sort of one club ethos. So for me, that's important. There's no point in having something just to tick a box. So you've got to put that into action. So obviously, Soulshark going was a little bit of a blow maybe, because I don't think Ralph's really, to be fair, I don't think he'll have had time with everything that's going on. It's that much of a mess on the men's side. I don't genuinely think he'll have had time to take an interest because there's been more pressing issues. But I think hopefully going forward, we can pick that sort of that link back up and, we can bounce ideas, share training, come down to training, vice versa, things like that. And I think that's only beneficial, not only as a coach, but, as players as well. If players hear and see about that and they think, wow, well, actually, he's come in as new Man United boss and he's taking an interest in our women's side. That's great. You'd be absolutely buzzing, and especially when our players take a huge interest in the men's side, you'll see them going watching things like that. I think that's important, support from both sides. So hopefully, that will, put us in good stead if we can get that back. Listen, they already share Carrington, so there's no excuses, they share facilities and things like that. So I do think that could be something we tap into. And like I say, it's just good for the coach, even if we're talking devs and we're talking Charlotte. Imagine if Charlotte Healy's able to go and watch one of the men's first teams. I mean, she might have done. We don't know. But imagine if that's a regular thing and they say, right, well, actually, Charlotte, 3 or 4 times a month, come and watch the men train. We can't chat to the gaffer as much as you like. However, if you've got any questions, he'll answer them. Or if you need some video analysis or some strength and conditioning tips or things like that, we can do it. And I think that's what it should be. It should be everyone working together. This is Man United, It's not bloody, I don't know, some other, it's not Birmingham City. Do you know what I mean? Where everyone's at war and it's a bit of a shambles. This should be the best thing that's coming up in women's football if it's not already there. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully for the benefit of us, yes. But I do know, like we said before, Soulshark does still, obviously because of his daughter, take a big interest in the development squad.
I'm just thinking what you said there about the players there as well. I know Soulshark's not the Manchester United manager anymore, but to have a Manchester United legend that's been there, done it all, won it all, coming to watch your matches, albeit yes, he's supporting his daughter, but just to see him on the sidelines, when he was there at the FA Cup as well, when his daughter made her senior debut, What a big massive boost that is for even the first team as well. Just see Solskjaer's here. Yes, albeit again, we could the argument always go, he's there for his daughter, but just that boost. Well, the players then think, oh look, I'm playing in front of a United legend today. I'm going to go out and absolutely give it my absolute ball. Not saying that they don't give him their absolute ball when he's not there, but it's just something that sort of boosts your ego, boosts your confidence, as a player that, a Manchester United legend, or when he was the Manchester United manager at the time, he's here watching my game, wow, so I think it's a big, not only a big boost for the coaching staff, for women's football in general, but a big boost for those players. Having a legend from the men's game. We've said it about Ian Wright before as well. Taking interest. Legends of the men's game, promoting it. Sort of trying to kick that sort of. That sort of attitude that, it's just women's football, nobody cares, nobody watches, try to kick it to the touchline, kick to the side. People do care, people do watch, it is a good product to watch, I see all that bullshit that people are saying, it's like, it's no better than Sunday League, the standards is very, very high in the WSL, and the standards are very, very high, for a lot of these girls coming through as well in the development squad. I'd have to look at Carrie Jones, for example, she's broke through this season, really,
But something on that, what I was going to say, you just reminded me actually there when you mentioned Carrie. If you look at our development squad as well, I'd say 80, maybe 85% are all youth internationals as well.
Exactly.
Which I don't know how many other clubs can say that, but if you look at Carrie Jones, playing for the Welsh national senior team, Chloe Williams has had call-ups, you've got a lot of England youth internationals in there. You've got some Scottish internationals in there as well, so there's a nice mix of sort of talent plus, what I'd call youth internationals. I think that's another thing that makes a difference, obviously you've got your club coaching and your club sort of facilities and things like that, but going away internationally is massive because it just adds another dimension. It's a different environment, it's a different type of pressure, different coaches, and again, I think that aids our players a lot more. Having so many that do go away internationally is something again that the academy and the devs and Charlotte should be massively proud of.
Absolutely, and as you said, though, what other clubs could boast that, and it's like the men's side. You've had Zidane Iqbal playing for Iraq, and Hannibal's got off and played, internationally. Garnacho's got a call up to the Argentina senior squad, and Trey with Lionel Messi, stuff like that. And he's only 17 himself, Garnacho, and you're thinking, what a boost that is. He's not even played many senior appearances in Man United's first team yet. And do you know what I mean? And that's brilliant. Now, I think, getting that sort of training and getting that development in, from, as you said, different coaches, being in that international environment where you're away in a camp, it just adds to all your experiences. So when you do become, or you do get a chance to play first team football, whether it be at United or whether you have decided to move on to further your career elsewhere, you've always got the best chance, and you've had the best coaching, you've had international experience. It's just obviously it's amazing, mate. Honestly, we should be so proud of our academy. I think we should promote it a bit more. I don't mean promote it in a way as go to matches, but I just think we should be proud that we should be like we are for our men's sort of side of things, for the 23s and the under 18s at FA Youth Cup finalists. That's been made of a hell of a lot more than our WSL Academy cup winning side. You know what I mean? You think they should be on par, really? You know, United should be making a fuss about them all. You know, equally on an equal par. You know, as you said, it's all equal already. Let's make a fuss of it. You know, let's make a fuss of this. You know, we're one game away potentially. Tomorrow, potentially becoming, you know, Northern Division champions, you know, and then we go into a playoff game with, or a cup final, whatever you want to call it, whatever way you want to describe it, you know, with Chelsea, you know, who won the Southern Division, like you said, backstage many moons ago. Where do you stand on this as well? Do you think it's right that North versus South should go to a playoff game at the end, you know, to be crowned, I suppose, the ultimate WSL Academy champions?
You probably know my thoughts because I hate the third tier playoff. When it's North versus South and only one goes up to the championship. I'm a big believer that if you win your league, you deserve to win your league. You know, that's yours. There shouldn't then be, let's play off for a place in the championship, or obviously devs, you know, like you talk about to win it overall. You know, we've won the Northern League, Chelsea have won the Southern. That for me should be it. You know, I understand why they've regionalised the leagues. I get that. That's not a problem. But I don't like the thought of a player. I just think, you know, these players have had a great season, and we've talked about this. You know, they've worked their absolute bollocks off. The crown champions, and rightly so. But then we're now saying, well, actually, you've only won your league to win the development title overall. You've got to now play Chelsea, the champions of the South. You know, I mean, listen, we beat Chelsea. I think we walloped them something like, I think it was 5-1 in the cup to make the final. You know, but I don't like that. I just think, because especially if you lose it, imagine all that graft and all that excitement, and then you go and lose the playoff trophy final thing. You know, it doesn't sit well with me. So I'm not a fan of playoffs and things like that. I just think, you know, you're fully deserving of winning the league. Props to Chelsea on winning theirs. Props to ours for winning ours. Let's just leave it at that. We don't need another game. We really don't. What's it for? What does it benefit, really? You know, so...
You said you agreed. Sorry, Matt, but you said you agreed on the I can't even say it, but you know, on the regionalisation of it. I think I've said it now. I'm not a fan of that. I think you should have all teams competing together, like the under 21s, 23s in the men's. Nothing's regionalised. North and South are in there, clumped in there together. Do you think that maybe takes the faff away of this playoff thing at the end, or this sort of?
I mean, it does, but it shouldn't. And the reason why I understand it is because, like I said before, if you've got 15 hours of training time, you've also got to factor in travel for away games, and budgets. Now, if you look at the Southern League, you've got the likes of Southampton, Ipswich in there. It's a hell of a trek. It's probably going to need to be an overnighter. They've also got to combine this with being in college. So for me, I'm led to believe, although this isn't factual, I've heard that it is regionalised based on that. It's to keep the travel and the disruption to a minimum, so that the furthest we'll travel is your likes of your Aston Villas and your Leicesters, rather than having to go down to Chelsea, say, on a Wednesday night. They then have to miss college or something like that. It becomes a little bit too much where the development and the education is taken away. So that's why, in terms of development, I don't mind it. You know, I mean, it's difficult to compare to third tier. Third tier, there's no money. So again, they have to have sort of, you know, third tier North, third tier South, because again, money plays a part. But in terms of this, I mean, listen, one day I would love if they got a lot more money into it, and they said, right, all your development players are going to be on paid contracts.
Yeah.
And, you know, then they won't need to worry about an education as such. Then I'd be like, right, fine, let's whack it all as one big league, because, you know, they're going to be able to live comfortably, whether they make the grade or not. But at the minute, we're not at that stage. That's well in the future. So I think for me, the regionalisation is probably fair. It's not fair to have a 16-year-old trek 5, 6, 7 hours down to Ipswich or Southampton to then get back late, to then have to be in college for 9 o'clock, having only walked in the door at 3 or 4. So I fully understand that anyway.
Yeah, of course. You know, you hit the nail on the head, because let's be fair, there's still a massive gap between men's and women's football, and some of the under 23 players are on quite a hefty wedge of cash.
Men's,
some of these haven't even played first team football, and they're on quite a good wedge of money. So on the men's side, so I get your point, Matt. I get your point. It's just I'm just not a fan of this like divide thing, but yeah, I totally get it, mate. I totally get it now. And to be fair, we need to, as you said, make sure the education is still key part to everything.
Yeah.
But it's the way it works. The way it works at the minute. But as you said, hopefully, if the money does get into the game, it all develops, and hopefully, maybe one day that we'll see it on parity with maybe what the 23s do on the men's side of things. Just quickly before we go to the Walton Hall Park game. And obviously, because we have said it before, the massive gap between development squad and first team squad. Another thing that's obviously that it is actually under 21s. Actually, it gets knocked down again on the men's side. Is they're playing in a competition called the Papa John's Trophy, where they're playing against League One and League Two sides. Now, do you think that we could, even if it's regionalised again? Do you think that, which it is in the Papa John's, by the way, it is actually regionalised in there as well in the earlier rounds, in the group stages. do you think that there could be something potentially there for maybe a development squad to maybe do that when they're playing against, I don't know, tier 3, tier 4 sides, professional sides, or do you think that's just overloading everything?
No, funnily enough, I had a conversation with somebody on this not too long ago, and basically, we were talking about there's a lot of third and fourth tier clubs play development sides of WSL clubs.
Yeah.
And the conversation I had was obviously similar idea. Why can't we put our WSL development squads in the cup competitions at the third and fourth tier play?
Yeah.
Now people might look at it and say, you're gonna kill it for third and fourth tier, but there's a cup and there is a plate. So there's 2 trophies in the third, fourth, and fifth tier. Third, fourth, and fifth tier. So for me, I would be putting those development squads in there. And the reason being is that, one, you'd be playing against people that are, would be classed as sort of senior players, so that you're playing against adults, basically, is what I'm trying to say. You've got the physical nature of it. So you're getting that. You are getting an education just at a lower level. So I think for me, rather than creating another competition, let's add to it. Let's put them, let's put them in the third tier plate. The FA WNL plate. Let's put Man United. Well, let's put whoever wants to enter it. I think we can enter teams into it and say, right, and then let's see. Oh, how did he get on against Burnley? How did he get on against Fylde? How did he get on against Huddersfield, Derby? The likes of that, and I think that'll be better because, the level is good enough to give them a proper game, proper competition. And like I say, they do it in friendlies. I know FC United have played Liverpool under 21s this season, in a closed doors friendly, so it does happen. So I just think, well, why don't we look at that? And that for me then is how you listen, it's not going to fully bridge the gap, but it's going to be good, like I say, playing against women as opposed to playing against 16, 17-year-olds. And then see how they do. There's 2 competitions. If we enter them in both, I'm assuming for anybody watching now that supports or follows a third and fourth, fifth tier side every single weekend as a fan, probably won't like this. But I do think that would be for the greater good of the game. And maybe people might say that's selfish because you're only bothered about Man United. But obviously, as a Man United fan, you're going to be. I'm not going to give 2 hoots about, a Huddersfield or somebody like that. But I still think it'd be good for the third tier side. I don't see how this can be a negative. But yeah, that was a conversation I had and sort of planted that, and we had a good conversation on it. But yeah, I do believe that could be one route. And I know was talked about Tony Fretwell, who is the WSL Academy manager. He did say that they're quite aware of the gap of sort of academy football to senior football, and they're trying to narrow it. So why not have a look at something like that? I think there was a stat that come out, and something like youngsters breaking into first teams now has increased 310% over 3 seasons. So if you think that's roughly about 100% a season, it's getting better in terms of people breaking through and being involved. So now is the time to step it up a level. I think that would be a good starting point. I really do. For, like I say, looking to bridge that gap. Whether they do it or whether they introduce the 23s, and keep the developments at 21, I don't know. But that would be my first step, and then look to introduce a 23s league.
Yeah, absolutely. I just a thought popped into my head there when I was thinking about academy sides and how that they try and bridge the gap in the men's by doing the Papa Johns, which I think is brilliant now, because those 23 players are playing against seasoned professionals, hardened pros,
I think the thing is as well, if you look at the quality now of the third tier, there's a lot of players that have dropped down from the championship, and that's because they couldn't commit to going full time. So I think, again, without having to spend huge resources of money logistically and make a new club, logistically for me it makes sense because the quality is still there. You look in that third tier, there's probably at least 3 or 4 players in every single team that could play championship with a breeze. So yeah, just thought I'd add that in.
Absolutely. Just before we end the show, we'll have to get into tomorrow's game, against Everton at Walton Hall Park. It is free of charge if anybody wants to go down. It's where the Everton women's team actually play as well. Mm-hmm. So for those that may have been there earlier on in the season when we played Everton, earlier on the season, it's exactly the same place. It is free of charge, so get yourself down if you can. Get right behind the Reds. But just on the game itself, though, Matt, do you think that now that we know that we could go on and win the league, albeit on goal difference, obviously, but do you think it sort of adds the pressure now as well? Do you think that, or do you think we should just go in there, play our game, and sort of pressure sort of off, just relax and just play our own game? Or do you think with fans going to be there and the expectation that we should go on and win the league, do you think that's too much added pressure on them?
I mean, listen, it's pressure, but then you get pressure in football no matter what level you're at. So the pressure shouldn't be an issue, but it could potentially be an issue. And I think the fact that I believe Everton have beat us as well this season probably adds to that. The fact that we've lost to Everton, there is a crowd there. It's for the league. There's a lot of good that can come from this. If we can deal with the pressure, if we can wrap up the league, beat Everton, I think that just adds to your education. And that's sort of been a buzzword of the show, hasn't it? Education. But I do think that it's a good thing. Like if there wasn't that pressure and there was no crowd and it was closed doors and, it'd be a little bit of a shame. So I think for me, it's a good time, like we talked about before, getting them exposed to this type of environment. At the end of the day, if you're wanting to get into that first team, then you need that. Otherwise, you're at the wrong club. So, you've got to be used to one day playing in front of 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 shouting fans, massive games, whether that's cup, whether it's, aiming for Champions League, aiming for the league in years to come, you've got to get used to it. So you may as well get used to it at sort of 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old than have an absolute fright of your life, because you've never been exposed to sort of any crowd. So yeah, I do think that it's a good thing. Listen, we've had a terrific season with the development squad. If you look at Maria Edwards, she scored 26 goals in something like 18 games, something ridiculous like that. Eleanor Ashton's bagged about 14, 15 goals. I think kind of Soulshark's on about 15 as well. So, in terms of attacking talent, it's there. And then you've got a couple of midfielders chipping in. I think Rebecca May's got about 4 or 5 goals as well. You've got Alyssa Ahern as well, who's also on sort of 8-9 goals. So we've got the players to cause the damage. It's just about going there now and sort of, like you said, getting over that fear of a crowd and what it's to play for, and then get the job done. Yeah,
if we get the job done, I will ask you for a little score prediction in a minute, but just on that, because I've got a score on the bottom. Do you think there is any ready to step up? Just right quickly.
I mean, listen, I've always talked about Maria Edwards, and I do feel that she should have been given a chance this year, whether that's been in cups or whether that's been in sort of, even just on the bench or something like that. Carrie Jones has played 5 games for the first team since, she was sort of brought through. And I just think that, that should be a chance that Maria was given. I do think she's not far off. You know, she's obviously had a very good spell at Blackburn. Chloe Williams as well as another one. Tara Bourne. They are capable, but I think one thing that sort of Mark Skinner said was, you know, he wants them to be ready. You know, he doesn't mind them training with the first team. But I think the difficult thing for us is because we're fighting for a Champions League spot, it is difficult to get them in. And it is one thing he said, you know, he doesn't want to rush the development, but they do need that exposure. So obviously, you know, they can just psychologically jump into a first team game. I think that's the plan. So obviously, you know, you could have all the ability in the world at development level, but then you're not going to necessarily transition to first team and take that ability into there because of, like I talked about before, because of the gap and sort of, you know, the huge, sort of, what's the word? Huge gap in sort of talent and quality. So if they can bridge that gap, I think we'll see a lot more. But there is a few that are capable, and whether we give them, like I say, a bit of time, the odd few minutes here and there, we should do, but I wouldn't like to rush it anyway. But I do know that Mark takes a massive interest. You know, he will be at development games if he can. He was at the cup final. You'd probably expect him with no first team game to be there tomorrow as well. So, yeah, hopefully we can just continue it. And obviously, like, you know, I give names before. You know, Niamh Murphy, for example, has been on the bench. I think Kira Barry was for the Reading away game, you know. So there's opportunity there for those that deserve it. And hopefully now, you know, whether Marie is given a chance next season, whether she gets another loan, whether Tara gets a loan, we shall see. But the future's certainly bright. I mean, I would expect, you know, a couple over the next few years to certainly step up.
Yeah, absolutely. Marie Edwards is one of those, mate. When you, for those that haven't watched her, when you watch her, you know there's a special talent there. Yeah. There is something special with Maria. So hopefully, as you said, she'll get a chance in the coming years. You know, you know, I think she'll probably get a chance next season more than anything. Now, I think maybe pre-season as well is a good sort of time to get a chance as well when they're going to pre-season. Hopefully, she'll if they're going abroad, hopefully she'll be able to go abroad and everything. So yeah, it's you know, I know we've got to wrap up in a minute, but it's really, it should be really, really good to see them develop. Another one is Poppy Lawson, by the way. I think she's not going to be far off either. And if we keep picking up defensive injuries, I don't think she's going to be too far off even making the bench in the coming years as well. Just before I wrap up, though, mate, quick score prediction, and then your usual sort of stuff to wrap up the show, mate.
We're going to go for a 2-0 win for the Devs and win the league.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 3-0, win the league. And obviously, what's the schedule in and what's to come up, mate, in the next few days?
So tomorrow, I think, again, because it's FA Cup semis, I think there's a few of us at local sides. Barry will be at Stevenage, he does bits. I know Anthony was at Crawley the other day. I think there's a few people going to Stour, myself and Gareth at FC. So yeah, that's tomorrow. Just promoting local sides. Teammates is out at 8 p.m. That's episode 9, so we're not far off the end of that now. And then obviously there'll be weekly catch-ups and the schedule going out. Monday, John's got a bit of a match reaction show to this development squad game, so keep an eye on that Monday. Tuesday, mine's a bit of a merry mix-up Tuesday, actually. There was a piece that went out yesterday by Amy Rizaki, and it was about Newcastle United women looking to win looking to get Champions League football, not win the Champions League before I cock that up. Get Champions League football by 2028 in 6 years' time. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss, is that going to lead to more investment in third and fourth tier? Are we going to see players on contracts? We are going to discuss as well the FA Cup semi-final results. Because I think there's a game today and one tomorrow. So discuss the results, discuss who's in the final, and then a little bit on the Fran Kirby situation as well. And then, yeah, sort of obviously the usual Thursday show, the Friday show. We're back next week with an Aston Villa preview and then the game next Sunday. So, yeah, another busy week.
Absolutely, mate. And listen, whatever you're doing over the weekend, I hope if you're watching local football, if you're coming to watch the Devs tomorrow, if you're at Old Trafford today, whatever you do, enjoy yourselves and make sure that you keep yourselves safe, because obviously it's glorious out there, like we said you said earlier on. And on the Frank Kirby thing, I hope she feels better soon within herself and everything. She's back playing soon. It's a big blow for the Lionesses that actually going into the Euros as well. You know, she's a fantastic player. I'd love to. That's one player I'd love to see at United, Frank Kirby. Honestly, terrific player. And just before we do end, mate, FA Cup semi-finals on the same days as the men's. That's surely not going to change, hasn't it?
It has, yeah, because if you're a Man City fan or an Arsenal or Chelsea or a West Ham fan, it's a little bit of a mess, shall we say.
It is.
It clashing. I know, because I think it's Man City and Liverpool, isn't it? I think it's at 3:30, 4 o'clock today, you know, and then you've got your game tomorrow. I don't like the clashes. I just think you shouldn't be forced as a fan to choose. You know, I know Chelsea Palace tomorrow, but I just look at the plan and I just think, like, that's just shambolic, isn't it? Really, you know, if you're wanting to watch both sides, and I know one's early and the kickoff times are different, but even the clash then, it's not possible to get to both games. So yeah, no, they need to sort that out. I can understand why they've like done it as one big FA Cup semi-final weekend and look at this, but no, not for me. Kills it.
Absolutely, totally agree. You're right. We're going to end it there anyway. Thank you, Matt, once again, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, we're back live next week and we can get people in the comments. We can jump around and bounce off people in the comments as we always do. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.